Welcome to episode 26. This episode is about how chronic stress harms your health. We are talking about chronic stress because it can cause many preventable illnesses, harming your health, and the better informed you are, the better your ability will be to reduce stress in all areas of your life, therefore improving your health and wellness. What if we had the opportunity to create more internal resilience? What if we had healthy ways to cope to reduce chronic stress in our lives? Stay tuned to this episode to find out how you can reduce stress. I'm Carla Hunt, CEO and founder of Prioritizing Peace and the host of the Unapologetically Prioritizing Peace podcast. Stress can come from a variety of situations and circumstances that cause us to feel overwhelmed. Stress happens to us all, and it can be a good and a bad thing. Stress is more than just an emotion. It is also a physical response produced in the body. In the short term, stress can be beneficial in terms of its original intended purpose for survival, which is a good thing. However, chronic stress in the long run causes harm to your health, which is a bad thing. Chronic stress can come in the form of not having good boundaries, not saying no, overcommitting, not taking care of yourself, not processing your emotions, and not fulfilling your own needs. A lot of people talk about the side effects of chronic stress, and I'll go over that quickly without diving too much into all of the technical terms as not to bore you. Stress is the psychological and physical reactions. Psychologists call any event or situation that puts pressure on you or threatens your well-being a stressor. Sometimes we will encounter a one-time stressor that is a quick fix, like getting locked in the bathroom and you're able to quickly get out once someone lets you out, or you are able to get the door unstuck. On the other hand, continuous stressors or chronic stress, which could be things like being at a job that you absolutely hate, that is soul-sucking, or being in a toxic relationship, just to name a couple, your limbic system is responsible for all of your automatic emotional reactions, and it all starts in the brain. The hypothalamus releases hormones, and that starts a chain reaction of more hormones being released, which release a bunch of adrenaline and cortisol. Those two hormones trigger the fight or flight response. The purpose is for survival. It's to give you a boost physically so that you can fight the stressor or run away if you were suddenly face to face with a saber-toothed tiger. The surge in energy would help you either outrun it or fight it. The same system is activated by chronic stress. Researchers have found that people under some kinds of chronic stress have perpetually high cortisol levels. And you all hear it all the time on commercials. Cortisol causes what? Belly fat. But wait, there's more. People under chronic stress are at higher risk for other kinds of health issues like heart disease, autoimmune diseases, and mental illnesses like anxiety and depression. Being stressed out all the time is unpleasant, but on top of that, the reality is that stress responses is constantly exhausting your energy. The energy used by the fight or flight response for someone who has chronic stress is always on, and it has to come from somewhere. And the one place that energy resource comes from is your immune system. Your body is redirecting the energy from your immune system to fight off the saber-toothed tiger. But the problem is that the stressor isn't a saber-toothed tiger. It's those lack of boundaries, not taking care of yourself, not processing your emotions, not fulfilling your own needs, which leads to things like toxic relationships and jobs you hate that cause you chronic stress. There's research that shows recovery time to heal took longer when individuals were under chronic stress. And stress also can make you age faster. Your DNA replicates, and there's evidence that having more cortisol interrupts the repair of telomeres, which are the protective parts at the end of the chromosome, which might explain why stress is linked to diseases that are also associated with age, like heart disease and cancer. You probably guessed it, but hypnosis can help reduce stress. DM me on Instagram for a free one-on-one discovery call, and we can chat more about removing the internal stresses. I really wanted to talk about this topic, as I mentioned in episode 17, We are a toxic positive and hustle culture. We have been taught to have good vibes only and hustle through it all to be successful. I personally know and have been one of those people that would push down my own needs and feelings to keep working because stuff just had to get done. Getting work done was my only focus, but work made me stressed out and miserable. I neglected my needs, ignored boundaries, stuffed down my emotions, etc. That is until I decided that I didn't want to be miserable anymore. I started pushing back and setting boundaries, asking what I needed, and then doing that and processing the emotions that came up. Stress is an emotion too, and not just a physical response. I had to release all of that stored energy in my body. I had to make different choices to not be in fight mode all of the time. That meant having the confidence and self-love to say no to what didn't serve me. You all are or know someone who has chronic stress. And the older the person is, just think about it for a moment. Their health, how is it? And without judgment, just reflect on their level of stress and their level of health, purely an observation. I know individuals of all ages with chronic stress that have a lot of health issues. I also know extremely healthy people with chronic stress to get cancer. People who worked out every day, were vegetarians, and on the face value doing everything right, but had a lot of chronic stress. What if we had the opportunity to create more internal resilience? What if we had healthy ways to cope to reduce chronic stress in our lives? To start right now, you can shift how you look at your stressors and reframe them to be challenges to overcome. Studies have shown that when people think about the source of their stress as a challenge to overcome rather than a threat to their health or safety, that the shift in perception seems to lower stress and reduce the body's physical response. When I say building more internal resilience, this is not pushing down feelings aside and training ourselves to hustle and grind. No, this is training ourselves to slow down, take breaks, process emotions, and fulfill our own needs. Think of it like a chain being pulled from both ends, one end on the left being pulled by your internal forces, the things we can control by fulfilling our own needs, processing emotions, caring for ourselves more. And on the other end, on the right side, is the external forces. When we ignore our needs, shove down our emotions, and neglect caring for ourselves, tension is added to the left side, which is interesting because we are all doing those things, trying to relieve all of the tension that is on the right side, yet the external forces seem to be never ending, though we keep putting all of our efforts into it. So both ends have a lot of tension. The weakest link in the chain is where the illnesses from the chronic stress discussed previously starts happening as these two forces pull in opposite directions. But what if you address the things on the internal forces side and relieved that tension, preventing links in the chain from being broken? All it takes is tension from just one side to be released for the chain to not be stressed to the point that any weak chains could break. There's so much more potential to overcome challenges on the external forces side from those external forces when we give ourselves back the resources we need to be able to take on those challenges instead of going at them from empty. We overreact less to an external stressor because there's not a ton of emotional resonance or unmet needs piled up on the other side. A lot of people can't do this because they don't believe they are worthy of this type of investment in themselves to fulfill a need before responding to something as simple as an email. The good news is hypnosis can help with this by building self-worth and helping you to remove some of those internal forces. Ask yourself, what things have I been putting before my own well-being? What will I do to empower and energize myself going forward? I can help you holistically heal negative thoughts, unproductive coping mechanisms, and limiting beliefs through subconscious reprogramming so that you can experience consistent inner peace, increased happiness, and increased confidence. Use the link below to sign up for a free discovery call and see how we can work together to remove the mental obstacles preventing you from living your best life. If you're not ready for subconscious reprogramming just yet, a really great place to start is to read this book called The Secret Language of Feelings. Use the link in the description below to get your copy on Amazon. The book describes that all feelings are good because their purpose is to provide us with information, direction, and motivation that will help us create a satisfying life. Oftentimes, many of us ignore our feelings and are dysregulated, which is why we are not experiencing a satisfying life. Use the link in the description below to get your copy of the book. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next episode. And in the meantime, check out some of season 1's classic episodes.